Oh, hello. This is the Oh Hello podcast with Colin and Isaac. Today we'll be talking about hot takes we'll defend in court. Here's my first hot take for you right here. The Saban shadow is killing Alabama. Kalen DeBoer winning 10 games last year was the worst thing that could happen to Alabama. And here's why. Here's the problem. Us as Alabama fans, and maybe I'm guilty of it sometime as well, but we still think it's 2015. And this pressure, it could cause a three-loss team to collapse for us in November. If we're because let's face it, in November we got Tennessee, LSU, Auburn. There is no guarantee we win all three of those games. Okay, imagine this: we dropped that fourth game earlier in the season against Georgia. Now, don't get me wrong; I see Alabama ceiling as 12-0, but I also see their floor as 8-4. So we just got to know, like, that's success. Alabama winning 10 games last year is success. But we, as Alabama fans, got to realize this ain't Saban. And I think if we drop three in November or even one to Georgia and the three in November, I think we will implode. The locker room will implode. The fan base will implode. I'm a Bama homer through and through. But success is not the problem at Alabama. That's not what's going to kill Alabama. It's the expectation of perfection. People, there are Alabama fans out there mad of what Kalen DeBoer has done. And I think Tide fans are just not emotionally ready for this finish. I love Kalen DeBoer. I want him to stay, but I will not be. I expect Alabama to go 12-0, just like I'm part of the problem because I expect perfection. But in reality, Alabama could very well be looking 8-4 going into next year.
Man, how in the world can you say this right now when I know for a fact that if it doesn't go well, you might not call for Kalen DeBoer's head, but what you're going to end up doing is complain about everything that's wrong and complain about all the flaws that Kalen DeBoer has.
Okay, so here's my thing. This is the biggest thing for Kalen DeBoer. This is the biggest thing we need. The offensive line needs to fix this problem. We didn't see a lot in the spring game, but it's a spring game. I don't base anything off the spring game. Why would I show you, as a coach of a football team, everything I got on a spring game? And plus, the offensive line, there's a lot of new guys coming in, and recruits, transfer portal, a lot of new guys. They're probably still learning the system in the spring, honestly. And there's a new coach. There's a new O line coach on top of it. That's been the biggest question about Alabama. And am I worried about the defense? No. But is Georgia going to have a good football team? Yes, they always do. Could Alabama lose that game? They shouldn't because we're Georgia's daddy and we always beat them in Tuscaloosa. But could they? Very well possibility. Could they lose to LSU? I mean, everybody's howling the Kiffin train and says LSU's going to win the SEC automatically, which I think is delusional. But Kiffin could very well beat Alabama in November. Tennessee. When's the last time we beat Tennessee in Neyland Stadium?
2020.
Tennessee could very
2020.
well beat Alabama. And you want me to tell you the scariest thing about the Iron Bowl? We have won 6 years in a row. That's not normal. We're due a loss in the Iron Bowl. As much as I hate Little Brother, and all they do is strive to be Alabama, very possible. But if the run game improves, the defensive line looks good, and the offensive line improves, I can't be upset losing to a very good LSU team, to a Tennessee team we haven't beaten Neyland in a long time, and to a rival. The Iron Bowl is the biggest rival in college football. Don't care what you say, Bosh.
It's not.
Um,
That should
but
have been your hot take.
but you know, if Auburn beats us, it's due. It's just, I mean, you see what it takes to Auburn to beat us. A couple Chris Davis plays, and they finally beat us. But
John,
I
I feel
mean,
like you're gonna feed right into it if things don't go well. That's the thing that you got to be careful of. Making this statement now is fine, but are you gonna feed into it as an Alabama fan? That's going to be the big thing if things go south.
And
so
my issue with all this is there's a difference between reality and expectations, okay? Reality is that Alabama right now, as of right now, it could change, but as of right now, y'all are not set up for a 12-0 season. Look, this is the most competitive the SEC has been in years. Anybody can beat anybody on any day, okay? And you're telling me that you have expectations for Alabama to go 12-0.
I expect them to go 12-0. I think it's very possible. Um, I think a lot of Alabama fans expect that, and I think that's a part of the problem. Now, where I differ between a lot of Alabama fans, and I feel like the Alabama fans that watch this are going to be very upset with me. Um, there's a reality that we can go 8-4. I don't see a worse see. I don't see 7-5. I don't see 6-6. I definitely don't see 5-7. There's no way that ever happens.
If you go 5 and
But
7, Kalen DeBoer's out.
I think if we go 9-3, Kalen DeBoer's out, and that's what's
What?
killing us. That's my say. That's what's killing Alabama. The
But
fact that Kalen DeBoer won 10 games, I don't want him out. That's where I'm. That's
I
my
think there's
point
a
I'm trying
difference
to make.
between a fan perspective and most fans being on board with he's not the guy to get the job versus the actual administration and the boosters want him out.
well, the
The
issue
fans
with this
control that
is
more than you
the
realize,
No,
boss.
they don't.
the
No, they don't.
no they don't. It's like, okay, so I was watching Josh Pate, and I swear he described it perfectly. Alabama and the Kalen DeBoer hot seat talks is like a firefighters going to fight a fire that's not there. Okay, it's like these firefighters going out and they're running all over town with their sirens on, looking for a fire, but there's just not one there. There's
There's
not
no
a fire.
fire.
So I agree with that. Uh, so y'all think if he goes 9-3, nobody's questioning his job? That's my thing.
I
No,
mean,
no, they're not going to fire him. No.
there'll be questions, but he will not get fired.
Yeah, they're not going to fire him.
Because y'all can't tell me the Georgia game's not a toss up. The
Yeah,
LSU
it's
game's
possible.
definitely a toss up. People are
Is
high on LSU right
is
now.
that one in Death Valley?
Yes, I
Okay,
believe
yeah,
so. I'm not
yeah,
100%, but I believe so.
yeah. That's a toss up.
Um, the Tennessee guy, I mean, do I think we're a better team than Tennessee? Yes, but it's in Neyland.
No,
When's the last time we beat y'all in Neyland?
no,
You know the
stop.
answer.
2020.
It's 2020. But here's the thing: it's being played in Neyland, and I'm going to disagree with you. You guys are not a better team than us this year. You guys aren't.
Talk about that later.
We'll talk about it later, but you guys
So,
aren't as good as.
Let's have that debate because I would like to participate in that.
so I think we all took down 3 takes. One of y'all give me y'all's take.
Good, Isaac.
So one of mine is kind of like your Ole Miss take last episode. One of my takes is that we will see a team in the SEC championship this year that hasn't made the SEC championship in years. Okay. I think that Alabama is one of those teams that's not fallen off, but is kind of teetering off to the side a little bit. Georgia has a lot of question marks. If you watch their spring game, they had a lot of starters out due to injury, and some of those injuries were serious, like ACL tears and different things like that. I believe Nate Frazier on the first play left the game with I think it was either a left hand or left forearm injury. But I think that there's certain teams out there in the SEC that are set up this year to surprise a lot of people. One being Tennessee. Tennessee, we have a lot of question marks, but if things go right, I think that we could possibly be one of the most dangerous teams in the SEC. I mean, Texas, Oklahoma, those teams obviously have never made an SEC championship. You said Ole Miss.
Texas did.
Or yeah, Texas did. Oklahoma. I mean, Ole Miss. They have, a couple of sneaky attributes about them. I don't think that they're going to make it, but they could possibly. You also one of the teams that I think a lot of people are sleeping on this year because they overhyped them last year was South Carolina. They did got a lot of pieces through the transfer portal, and stuff like that. So I think that there is a possibility for us to see a team that has not made an SEC championship in years, kind of teeter to the top of the SEC.
South Carolina is that team I'm high on, and though it's not one of my top 3 hot takes that I want to defend in court, mine's more kind of like general, something that everybody is going to be able to discuss, not just the diehard college football fans. I'm
So
high on South Carolina, man.
I could see out of some of the teams you named, here's my issue with Tennessee. I think they're great talent. I think they've made some great moves in the offseason, especially with the strength and conditioning coach coming from Indiana. I bet you, as a Tennessee fan, never thought you would be picking coaches from Indiana, but that's the way in college football we live in, the day in college football. But here's my question about Tennessee, and I also have the same question about Alabama as well. Um, could Tennessee make a SEC championship? Whatever happens with the quarterback situation at Tennessee, we know we're going to have a first-year starter. Can Tennessee make a SEC championship with a first-year starter quarterback?
Well,
Well,
but
and
when it comes
here's
to his take, it's not all about Tennessee though, and so you agree with that, considering Ole Miss, who hasn't been there, you have going 12-0.
Well,
and
I'm
and
just
here's
going off teams you
here
named. Now, Oklahoma,
here's okay. So
I'm high on it.
here's my thing about the Tennessee argument, and first year starters and stuff like that. Whenever our defense is good, we don't need a spectacular offense. And we saw that in 2024. Nico didn't look too great. We were
We will
one game
tackle that.
we were one game away from making an SEC championship. If we would have beaten Arkansas, we would have been in the SEC championship. So I think that we don't need spectacular quarterback and offense, and our defense just does what it needs to do.
Dude, if you guys want great content and a reason to subscribe, a reason to promote our stuff, just wait till we have some of these conversations about Tennessee in the future. Because I don't want to get too deep into this because we got so many other takes to tackle, but I got a lot of discussion to be had with Vols through the next couple of months about Tennessee leading up to the season. So,
But if
and Alabama too.
South Carolina could possibly make it to the SEC championship, but that is so very
A&M.
rare. That is
A&M's
bad,
never
so
made it.
bad for the South Carolina football program in the
So
long term. If they
so
do, Beamer Ball is not the
I'll
move.
say this
Oh
about
my
He's
South
gosh,
so
Carolina.
Sean.
inconsistent.
Well, I'll
He's
say this, John
inconsistent.
Whalen. It doesn't make sense that people were buying in last year because of the fact that we knew South Carolina was not going to have much of an offensive line to lean on. We knew that. Everybody saw Lenora Sellers in the last 6 games of the season. They saw Mick
Yeah.
Harbor. They saw Dylan Stewart, and everybody wanted to hop on that train. Well, guess what? Now they've got nothing but better around those 3 fundamental pieces that they have. And I think that now that you're giving Lenora Sellers an actual offensive line and some wideout weapons, I think that they could possibly make a run in this thing. And I'm not going to lie, I have the South Carolina versus Tennessee game circled because that's a game that scares me.
Yeah.
So what about this? What about this right here? I I could see that. I'm not. I mean, I could see it with South Carolina. They how they dropped one from their 2024 season to their 2025 season baffles me. That's why I'm not big on Beamer Ball. You have a high one year, a low the next year, but they could make a SEC championship. 2 years ago, they should have went to the playoff on one of the worst call in college football that year was when college game day was there and LSU got that pick 6. That call kept South Carolina out of the playoffs. Whether they would have won, got blown out. South Carolina was the hottest team in college football. They barely lost to Alabama, and they barely lost to LSU. They did get blown out by Ole Miss, which again, Lane Kiffin, offensive genius, had Ole Miss. He has Ole Miss at a different level, and you'll see it this year once Lane Kiffin's gone. But South Carolina should have been a playoff team 2 years ago. They lost key pieces. Again, they could be a bounce back, and I'm still high on Oklahoma. As soon as Brent Venables left Clemson, that's when Clemson started to go downhill. One of the best defensive minds in the game. I don't think Oklahoma's going anywhere. I mean, they made the playoffs last year. I think they can be on top of the SEC this year. I think the
And I'll say
Oklahoma-Texas
this
game's
too,
going to tell
I
us a
don't
lot.
expect them to come out and compete for SEC championship or anything, but one of the games that Alabama needs to have marked on their schedule is the Kentucky game. I think that Will Stein is a very good offensive-minded coach. I think him and Kenny Mitchie are going to do some crazy things at Kentucky. And that game is so early in the season that I think Alabama needs to circle that game.
Yeah, Alabama. Yeah, they're playing at Kentucky, and Kentucky's defense is still going to be good in week 2. I'm worried about it a little bit. What's your hot take number 1, Colin?
Well, we're going a little bit back into history, and like I said, this is going to be very general with these 3 takes, but some of it maybe you could get behind, some of it I know you're not. And this first one, I don't think you will. The most overrated player in college football history is none other than Johnny Manziel. This guy ran around like a chicken with his head cut off, chuck up the ball to Mike Evans, and won a Heisman off of that garbage. He didn't do anything special. A&M has been better since him. They almost made the playoff in 2020, did make the playoff with an 11-1 season this year. It's not like A&M never had any talent. They had good teams in the early years under Kevin Sumlin, and Johnny Manziel was not the reason for the success. The easiest draft bust call of all time from little old 12-year-old Colin Baschnagel. That was the easiest draft bust call of all time. He was overrated. Colin Klein deserved that Heisman.
I disagree on so many levels. So many levels, Colin.
Okay.
So the draft bust was not because he was overrated. It's because he got to the league and he was a party animal. We've seen it with multiple different players where they're super hyped. They get in the league. Huh?
He was never going to work in the league.
What?
He was never going to work in the league. He wasn't that good.
It wasn't because of his talent. It's because he was out there snorting coke.
He won a Heisman off of beating Nick Saban in Alabama, and that's it.
Which was a big deal at that time.
Yeah, but did he get the pick 6 that sealed that game up?
It's like,
that was one of the best Alabama defenses we've seen.
You cannot deny Johnny Manziel's ability to extend plays. You can't. You can't. Go back and watch the tape, Colin. Okay, but as a quarterback, hold on.
Yeah, go back and watch the tape of Jordan Lynch. He did the same stuff.
Jordan Lynch and Johnny Manziel on the same level.
Jordan Lynch was Heisman finalist. They were about the same player. Each just one played at a smaller school.
There's no way you're serious right now.
One did more with less.
Hold on.
I'm dead
Johnny Manziel is a top 5 quarterback
Johnny
in college
Manziel,
football. All time.
Johnny Manziel is a top 5 college football quarterback of all time. Of all time. Yes, he is.
No, he's not. Why? What did he do? He did not accomplish the heights that Joe Burrow did. He didn't accomplish what Tim Tebow and Cam Newton did. He didn't accomplish the heights that even a guy like Tua did.
Okay, because
he's better than Tua.
Name one other wide receiver on that team other than Mike Evans.
Shoot,
see?
He can't do
it. Okay.
Bethel Roman.
Okay.
You said one other one, Bethel Roman.
Explain to me.
Johnny Manziel was running circles because he was back there running for his life.
I was 11, 12 years old, obviously. If I was, now I could, but it doesn't. The point being is I'm not saying that the team around him necessarily carried him. When I watched Johnny Manziel, I just felt like he was one of the luckiest players in college football at that time. It was easy to see that he was going to be a draft bust. You could say it was because he was a party animal, but he lacked the arm talent. He couldn't throw the ball deep whatsoever. When he did, he just chucked it up there. It's like he didn't even look at the receiver when he threw it. He just threw it.
Okay.
It just, literally always lucky, and that's all it was. And you know what? His teams ended up not doing anything.
Hold on.
He didn't even make a BCS bowl.
Look at his team. Look at his team, Colin. This dude.
Were he not playing the Cotton Bowl?
Him and Mike Evans were single-handedly carrying Texas A&M to 9 and 10 win seasons in one of the most difficult eras to play SEC football in.
Yes.
You're acting like they didn't accomplish those heights after him.
Do you know how long Johnny Manziel? Okay, they did, but that was the best.
Hold on,
Texas
wait
A&M was
a minute.
Johnny Manziel
Wait a minute. You said they were accomplishing those heights after him. If I'm not mistaken, they went through 8-4s and 7-5s
Yeah.
repeatedly after him with Jimbo Fisher, and then they got what's his face now first year head
Wait, but 2020 they went
2020.
what, 9
You
and
talking
Oh, I
about
1?
love
COVID year?
this.
That Mickey Mouse year? Where
Yeah,
where
they went 9 and 1 with an all SEC schedule. Yeah, but the argument, which by the way I agree with, for the SEC, it wasn't a Mickey Mouse year because they
okay,
played
but
10 conference games.
Yes, it was
Okay,
10
but
In
games
what
the
in
I
all
am
our
SEC.
trying
conference.
to say is there was a handful, quite a bit of players that opted out that season. Teams were not playing at full strength.
Okay, but I also think that well,
Well, you
that's
had your
fine, and I don't want
LSU
to kind of
guys.
get into a side conversation, but if you are going to talk about the slight decrease, and it was only slight because the change in 9 and 3 versus 8 and 4 is slight, I would attribute that more so to Cliff Kingsbury than anybody else.
Okay. So
I think that's fair.
I'm gonna give my second take, because if
Go ahead.
not, we'll be on this forever. And you're
Yeah.
just delusional about this, boss, and we're gonna have
Oh
to
my
agree to
Colin
God.
disagree.
Klein should have won the Heisman. Anyway, continue.
All right. So anyway, my second take is Lane Kiffin to LSU was a career-ending mistake, and then here's why. Here's why. Everyone thinks Kiffin at LSU is a match made in heaven. But tell me what's happened to the last 4 coaches at LSU. 3 of them were national championships, and only one of them left on their free will, and that was the GOAT himself, Nick Saban. Okay? He's going to get Brian Kelly out of there, and I'm going to tell you why. LSU has too many boosters and too many old guard pressure, and it's Kiffin's personality that's going to get him kicked out of there. It's not going to be his play calling so much or what he does on the field. It's going to be his personality. Because in Oxford, this guy was the king. They would have built a statue for him in Oxford if he would have stayed. But in Baton Rouge, he's just the next guy who will be. He's just the next guy that if he doesn't win, if he doesn't win a natty by 2027, he is on the hot seat. I understand he's signed the #1 transfer portal class, but where he's walking into the SEC, he's got a target on his back that is 10 times bigger than it was in Oxford. And here's the thing that I talked about in the last episode how I was high on Pete Golden and Ole Miss. I think Pete Golding staying at Ole Miss without the pressure, while everybody's beating the brains out of each other in the SEC, I think that's going to help Pete Golding win a natty. But I'm telling you, the first 2 loss season, and I won't hold it against him this year. I don't think anybody's expecting, even at LSU, anything big this year. But the first 2 loss season that happens will turn that LSU job in from a green pasture to a
So
swampy
let me
swamp
ask you
real
this,
fast.
John Whalen. So you're saying you disagree with what Nick Saban said to Lane Kiffin?
Yeah. Look, I'm telling you, I love Nick Saban. I'm a Bama till I die. But I've seen that goat
Um,
make plenty mistakes, whether it be in play calls on the field,
um,
recruiting, even now as an analyst, he
well,
says bad
here's my
mistakes all the
thing,
time.
John Whalen. You're giving Lane Kiffin, who coached at Ole Miss. Ole Miss had never really seen 10-win season, stuff like that, and you're giving him all the resources in the world. You don't think that that's going to make him better?
Do you know who else has had all
Not
the
Lane
resources
Kiffin.
in the world?
I'm not
Texas.
talking
What does
about
Sark
Sark.
did with Texas?
I'm not talking about Sark. You're
Whoa.
moving the
Okay.
goalposts, John Whalen.
First off, Sark has done fine over at Texas. Sark played Ohio State better than anybody in that playoff. Sark was a play away from the national championship the year prior to that. Just because they had a little bit of a dip last year doesn't mean they're completely gone. That's the first point. Second point, this is not the same Lane Kiffin that was at USC. And not the same situation, by the way, with the scholarship reductions at USC. He would have been really good at Tennessee back in the day if he would have stuck it out, but he didn't. He has rebuilt his his image completely, what he was able to do at FAU, and then he stayed at Ole Miss longer than he's ever had another job. That was the longest tenure that he had in his career, and he had success, and every year got a little bit better and better and better at Ole Miss. You can't tell me that he can have that success at Ole Miss while relying on the portal, go to a place with more resources and replicate that success with basically the same coaching staff, brought in whatever players he wanted to bring in. For the most part, he will take Sam Leavitt instead of Trinidad Chambliss. I don't think he's losing any sleep about that. So, you can't really go and stamp this, because you have to admit that ever since Lane Kiffin left Alabama, he's a completely different coach.
Okay, here's my issue. Lane Kiffin may win a national title. Lane Kiffin may get 10 wins year in and year out. Don't think he'll have a problem doing that. But what happens the one bad year when he goes 8-4? What happens when he doesn't get a national championship by 2027? They gave these resources not expecting 10 wins, not expecting 11. They're expecting national titles.
But they gave Brian Kelly time. I don't see how they're not going to be able to give Lane Kiffin time if he has a bad first year or something
They
like that.
gave Brian Kelly time. They gave Brian Kelly time, which is crazy because he's a freaking bum. He was never a good coach, never a good hire. But, I mean, you got, before Brian Kelly, I'm not going to count Saban because Saban's dream was to coach the NFL and he gave that a shot. But after Saban, those three coaches won national titles. Those three coaches were fired.
So my hot take. Okay, we're gonna move off of the Lane Kiffin. And Bosch will enjoy this one. North Dakota State, within the next 10 years, will be a powerhouse school in the Big Ten. The Big Ten.
Big Ten. Wait, how?
So
how is that going to happen?
You're willing to
North Dakota
to
State will probably last didn't they join the MAC? The MACtion? Mountain West, that's it. Yeah.
Mountain West.
Mountain West.
Yeah,
Sacramento
that's
State
right. Yeah, and I don't see how that works.
But
broken. Anyways, they joined the Mountain West. I think for the next 3 years, they're going to dominate the Mountain West. Like, dominate. Probably within the next 3 years, we're going to see them make at least 2 playoffs.
They could.
Because they will be the clear for sure cut group of 5 champs. Okay. They originally wanted to join the Big Ten, but the Big Ten would not let them in because obviously they were an FCS school. I think with them dominating like that, showing the Big Ten, hey, we're ready for big boy ball. I think within the next 10 years, the Big Ten's going to let them in, and they're going to prove that they can be a top upper half echelon team in the Big Ten.
I don't think they're going to do that, and mostly because of academics. Unless they have a complete mindset change with the commissioner's office, I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think the more likely fit would be the Big 12. And if you'd say that, I could be like, I'd dig it. I'd root for it because I respect the hell out of what I've seen from North Dakota State in the FCS level. Every time you turn on an FCS playoff game, other than this past year, shout out to the Redbirds, but it's always North Dakota State being dominant, being well coached. And now you get a situation here where they're going to get their opportunity. I don't think they're going to instantly dominate because you have a couple of teams like New Mexico, for example, who are going to be a little bit of a challenge. UNLV, going to be a little bit of a challenge, but they could end up being the cream of the crop for a little while in the Mountain West and then getting a power conference opportunity. I just don't think that the Big Ten is the fit for academic reasons.
All right, so I agree with you 50%, Isaac. I think North Dakota State, I've looked at their schedule a little bit. A couple weeks ago, I looked at it. I think they win 9 games, possibly 10. I think 9 to 10 games they win. I think they dominate the Mountain West, but they do not join the Big Ten. And here's why. Why would they join a power conference in this day in college football? Because we all know we got that one group of 5 bid. And if North Dakota State does what North Dakota State did in the FCS, they will always get that group of 5 bid. So why would they challenge themselves with a 9-game conference schedule and the second best conference in college football and play in the Big Ten when they can consistently go to playoffs and, like Bosch talked in the previous episode, maybe be that group of 5 team that gets an upset in the playoffs. Because we've
I
seen them
mean,
beat
I don't know.
Power 4 teams before. We
If
have.
they've shown the desire to join the Big Ten, though, if they get that invite, you got to think that they take it,
well,
considering
and
they've shown the
here's my
interest.
thing.
It's
I
the
get
money.
the
It'd be the
academic
money.
argument,
It wouldn't be for
but we've
championship.
seen teams in the Big Ten have high academic standards and still make it very far. We're talking about, Michigan, Ohio State. Their academic standards are pretty high, especially Michigan's. Michigan is a
I'm saying North Dakota State's is too
okay. I
low.
understand what you're saying now.
Their
Okay,
academic
okay.
prestige is too low. Yeah,
Well,
all of these teams
I
we
mean,
added have
you
pretty
also
decent
you also
academic
got Indiana.
prestige with Oregon, Washington,
Indiana,
UCLA, and
their
USC.
academics are not very great unless you're going to business school. But
They're one of the worst in the Big Ten, but they still have good academics. Don't
business
get it
school,
wrong.
yeah. Isn't there acceptance rate for the regular school like 80 something percent?
So
It's not very hard to get into. Yeah, it is. It's
Is
pretty
it?
high.
I don't.
Yeah.
This is where we need Seth.
Unless you're in business school.
I don't-
Business school is successful.
So, Colin, hit us with your hot take, Colin.
Well, I don't think you guys are going to disagree with me too much. Maybe Vols will disagree just slightly, but this is nothing to do with college football. It's got to do with the NBA. I grew up loving watching the NBA playoffs. NBA playoffs have just started, and I could care less. And what really changed that was LeBron James. LeBron James has ruined the NBA, has ruined the excitement within the NBA. And the big thing about it, too, is a couple of things. First off, the face of the league. He is legend. Wait for it, John. Finish it for me.
Derry!
He's a legendary player. But with that being said, he's not a legendary personality. He ended up over-politicizing the NBA. He complains about every single call, then gets every single call, to where the whole league gets officiated much softer than it was back when I was even a kid and LeBron didn't have nearly as much influence. The older LeBron got, the more influence he had, and then when he went back to Cleveland, I also didn't love that. I didn't respect that because Cleveland fans casted him away, and he decided to try to play hero over here. Like, just pick a side. I think LeBron James has ruined the excitement of the NBA, and now it's a product that, frankly, I just can't stand to watch.
So, I have listened to all these takes. I got a little pen because the shorthand is better than the long brain, so I write down anything I want to disagree with. And for what you just said, I wrote down, I don't disagree at all. I mean, I watch NBA, but that's just because I love basketball. I am not getting entertained when I look at the first half and teams already got 67 points. I do not get entertained when somebody that's the guy running for MVP, most of his points are off free throws. I do not get entertained when I know who's going to dominate in the playoffs because of super teams. That is
And
all
I mean,
the LeBron
I
James effect.
I don't disagree with you, but I disagree with you on the stance of it's all LeBron James's fault. I think that the majority of it has to do with LeBron. I think that he's been the face of the league for way too long. He should have already retired by now. It's just doing the NBA a disservice at this point, because now we're kind of stuck in this mojo where if LeBron tires, who's going to be the face of the NBA? I mean, it just doesn't feel regular. So, I mean, but also then if you're asking yourself, oh, there's no defense played, too many points are being scored, all this, blah, blah. Well, then we got to look at Steph Curry. Because here's the thing, the 3-point ball was not being shot like it was today until Steph Curry and the Splash Brothers came. So, I mean, yes, LeBron James walked so that SGA could run, but at the same point, there's more than that that's going on.
Fair point. Fair point. Let's get our last takes in real quick.
All right, so my last take is Clemson funeral is here. Clemson's not just going down, they're dead already. Dabo Swinney is the new Jimbo Fisher of college football, and Clemson program is dead. The dynasty's buried. Dabo's refusal to fully use the transfer portal while everyone else is buying in, buying elite talent, paying for it. He's turned Clemson into a dinosaur. One thing I can say about Florida State is they're desperately trying to fix their mistakes in that conference. But Dabo's still trying to, like we talked about in the last episode, Dabo Swinney's still trying to win with culture. And you can't win like that anymore. And what culture does Clemson even have pre-Dabo Swinney? And their offensive coordinator, Chad Morris, are we trying to just redo everything we did in 2014
Yeah.
Clemson?
That's exactly
Like
what
Chad
they're
Morris
doing.
was a bum in Arkansas. He never amounted
That's
to
exactly what they're
anything.
doing.
He made Sam Pittman look like a great coach. That's why they kept him so long. They're going to get embarrassed by LSU so bad week 1 that the whole Clemson fan base is going to lose confidence in Clemson, and they will turn on Dabo, and he will be fired
I
by
wouldn't say by
October.
October. I'd probably give it till November, maybe even into season. But I think that this year is probably going to be his last year. Even if he does go like 8-4, 7-5, like I think that this is just the end of the road for Dabo. And I think that they're going to be looking elsewhere. So
By 2028, Clemson will be a basketball school. Fully. Maybe may even make a Elite Eight run in
but
2028.
my
man.
next hot take, this one's going to be pretty entertaining. I have in the ACC, I think that Virginia Tech will not be the shocker school. I have North Carolina shocking a few people this season. If you looked at their
Ooh,
recruiting, they recruited over 33 stars in the offseason this year. I mean, yes, at some
sheesh.
point, you know, you got to go out there and get the big fish. But as a Tennessee fan, in 2022, we didn't have very much of anything. It was all 3 stars and below. And we still put together, you know, a 10-win season. So I think that North Carolina with Bill Belichick, I'm calling it. They're probably, I would say, going to go either 8-4 or 9-3 in a bowl game.
Man, well, hey, I just did a preview on them. I could see it for sure. I'm kind of holding back a little bit of optimism for North Carolina because I got to see it first. And I think that's fair to say. Also, don't have a lot of faith in Billy Edwards Jr. or whatever they're playing as that quarterback. So we'll see what happens there.
I definitely see North Carolina going 7-5. That's at best. I was looking at their schedule yesterday. Colin made a video, and I was gonna make one as well. I'm working on it right now. Probably be posted later, but I definitely see them going 7-5, and compared to last year, that's an improvement.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, let's not forget the conference champion in the ACC was a 5-loss team last year.
That's fair. um, Guys, I think it's fair to close this out with a little homer take. My Chicago Bears are on the brink of a dynasty in the NFL, and you got to be ready for Ben Johnson to be the next legendary Hall of Fame head coach. The way that he's able to build the run game with the great offensive line, able to piece it together with the defense that was undermanned all year. This isn't the Chicago Bears of old that might pop for a year. They're here to stay, and we are not going anywhere. The Chicago Bears are going to win multiple Super Bowls with Ben Johnson as their head coach.
Okay.
Stamp it because it's happening.
So I don't disagree. It is a possibility, Colin.
Can't wait.
I think that we're buying into this a little too early. I think you should know just as much as anybody else because one of the teams in your division was in the same boat. Detroit, the Lions. I mean, huh?
Who'd they lose, man? Who'd they lose? They lost Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson was the secret to their success.
Colin, but at the same time, we have to be very wary because we have these coaches that go to these organizations and they have very early success. People buy in real fast, and then they just kind of disappear. Like, I'm not saying Ben Johnson is going to do that. I think that he's a great head football coach. I think that he is going to lead y'all to success and possibly a Super Bowl. But to sit here and say that he's going to win multiple with the Chicago Bears, even though we don't know what the team's going to look like 5-10 years down the road, is kind of illiterate. But yeah,
we're going to be painting our fingernails for Caleb in 5-10 years.
I'm big on the
The
Chicago
Bears.
Bears this past season. But I actually predicted a Chicago Bears Super Bowl. I predicted Chicago Bears versus Patriots Super Bowl. Middle through the season, that's who I predicted. The Bears let me down. I think they can come back.
Hey,
I think
Matt
they
back
can
off.
come
Stafford
back
can't play in
and
the
have a
cold
big
weather.
year. But I also think they're in a very tough division. I think the Packers are going to be hard to beat year in and year out. I think the Lions are going to be hard to beat year in and year out. Could I see a Super Bowl coming out of there? Yes, multiple. Like I said, the Packers and the Lions are going to be hard to beat in year out and year out. I mean, the Vikings could be good, but if they're going with JJ, they got two backups.
Nah,
they
it's
could go
Kyler
with.
Murray.
They got Kyler Murray and Nick Foles, and they're still with the worst quarterback in the NFL. There's a hot take. JJ McCarthy is a bum who rid the coattails of a national championship team and should have never got drafted. You want to talk about
that's not
Johnny
a hot take.
Manziel should have
That's
never
not a
got
hot
drafted.
take.
It's
I mean,
a
he was
fact.
going to run first
That's
offense.
unfair.
He never
Okay,
threw
hold
the
on.
ball.
I will say something about that.
Man,
That is unfair
love
because
hearing
he
it.
did have over 3,000 yards with, I think, 20 plus touchdowns that season. So he definitely threw the ball, but Michigan was still a run heavier offense. I will agree with you there.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear
softest
that. I don't
schedule
want
in
to hear
the
that,
Big
Colin.
Ten.
I'm telling you, I know that just from playing Road to Glory. I tried to play for Michigan on Road to Glory, and I didn't even like playing quarterback.
Oh, shoot.
You want me to hand the ball off until it's third down, and now it's 3rd and 20 because they know we're running the
Coach,
ball.
what
that
we
Jerome
doing over
Moore.
here?
That's Jerome
Let
Moore.
me
It was
throw it.
snowing
Let
in
me
Ann
sling
Arbor. You
it.
know what I'm saying? Hey, look at that.
Yeah, well, oh, it was snowing for sure.
But I am interested to see. I think Bryce Underwood's going to have a big jump from this past season. I mean, I'm still not very high on him, but he could surprise me. Well, he has no. I'll put it this way: he has
Yes,
no
he
excuse
does.
this
Yes, he
season.
does.
No,
He
not at
plays
all.
for the Carolina Panthers. That's a pretty good excuse. Oh, I thought you said Bryce
Bryce
Young. My
Underwood.
bad. My bad. No, but Bryce Underwood doesn't really have an excuse this year. He's got to pop off and improve a little bit more.
But
Well, that's
I
a wrap on the hot takes, baby.
I thank everybody for joining in. Please subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify. Follow us all on TikTok.
Oh, goodbye.
Toodles.
Toodles. All right.